Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever noticed that laziness appears only when something matters? You're not lazy when scrolling for hours. You're not lazy when talking, watching, or worrying. So the problem isn't a lack of energy. The problem is that your brain is silently avoiding something it finds threatening. And once you understand why your brain resists action, you stop fighting yourself. And start getting things done almost automatically. People often believe laziness is a personal failure. From a psychological perspective, that belief is not only wrong, it is harmful. Because when you label yourself as lazy, your brain accepts that identity and begins to behave accordingly. In clinical psychology, what people call laziness is usually a protective response. The brain is designed to minimize pain, uncertainty, and wasted effort. When a task feels emotionally uncomfortable, unclear, or tied to the possibility of failure, the brain quietly activates avoidance. Not because you are weak, but because your nervous system is doing what it evolved to do. This is why intelligent, capable people struggle the most with procrastination. Their brains can imagine every possible outcome. And when the outcome includes judgment, rejection, or disappointment, the brain chooses safety over progress. One of the biggest myths about productivity is motivation. People wait to feel motivated before they act. But motivation is not a starting signal, it is a reward chemical. Dopamine is released after movement begins, not before. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for your phone battery to charge before plugging it in. Action comes first. Even tiny action. And once the brain detects movement, it releases motivation to support that movement. This is why telling yourself to work harder rarely works. The brain does not respond to pressure, it responds to clarity and safety. Large goals overwhelm the brain because they feel unmeasurable. Be productive. Fix your life. Do better. These commands create anxiety because the brain doesn't know where to start. But the brain relaxes when tasks are small and specific. 5 minutes. 1 sentence. 1 step. Specificity reduces emotional resistance. From a psychiatric perspective, productivity is not about force, it is about lowering the nervous system's threat response. When a task feels safe, the brain stops resisting. Another hidden reason laziness appears is identity. The brain works to stay consistent with the story you tell about yourself. If the story is, "I'm lazy," the brain looks for evidence to confirm it. If the story becomes, "I am someone who starts small," the brain begins collecting proof. This is why consistency beats intensity. One small action repeated daily rewires the brain faster than occasional bursts of effort. The brain trusts patterns, not promises. Discipline is often misunderstood. True discipline is not self-punishment. It is environmental design. The brain always chooses the path of least resistance. So the question becomes: is avoidance easier than action? If your phone is closer than your work, the brain chooses the phone. If your task is unclear, the brain chooses comfort. This is not a moral failure, it is predictable behavior. Change the environment, and behavior follows. Prepare in advance. Reduce friction. Make the next step obvious. Another crucial point: fatigue is not always physical, it is often emotional. Unresolved decisions drain mental energy. Perfectionism drains energy. Fear disguised as overthinking drains energy. The brain avoids tasks that threaten self-worth. So instead of asking, "Why am I lazy?" ask, "What am I protecting myself from?" When you approach productivity with curiosity instead of judgment, resistance loses its power. Beating laziness does not mean becoming aggressive with yourself. It means becoming intelligent about how your mind works. You stop demanding motivation and start creating conditions for movement. And once movement starts, the brain follows. You were never broken. You were never lazy. You were simply using a brain designed for survival, not modern productivity. When you work with your psychology instead of against it, getting things done stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling natural.